What's going on, Forward family? It's Forward Fabian. I'm back again with a video. I'm doing a reaction to Chris Williamson and MrBallen, man, the disturbing Reddit lamp story, man. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. I actually did a reaction to like the worst first date or the most terrifying first date in history yesterday, man. So go watch that one. Go like it. Like this video, comment down below. Let me know y'all's thoughts. Check out the MrBallen playlist as well as my playlist page to see all the different forms of content I drop on the channel, man. Peace, love to everybody rocking with the channel. Let's get into this video.
We're in the right place for it, which is a very spooky house.
Yeah.
Have you got a story that suits the surroundings?
I do. I actually, there's a...
Bruh, these backdrops is just fire. Like, every single time. Can't go wrong. And he got a story for every situation, man. That's why MrBallen's goated. You don't know MrBallen, go check out his channel, MrBallen. One word, B-A-L-L-E-N, man, as it's shown in the title.
Story that I think is one of the best ones I've ever told. So I'm setting some pretty high stakes here. But for reference, I told this one live last year in Texas to a sold-out crowd at the Paramount Theater. And this story had a big reaction to it because the twist at the end is something else. And it's house-themed. So in 2004, there was this guy named Mitch who was going to a university in Louisiana. And he's a senior, and there's this girl in his class named Kayla, who's also a senior, and he just loves this girl. He wants to date her more than anything, and he's tried several times to woo her, but she's not that interested. She's kind of playing hard to get, but he could tell there was something there. Maybe she likes him, and eventually she does kind of acquiesce and say, okay, like let's go on a date, and they hit it off. Mitch and Kayla hit it off. They're an item. And they end up graduating, and after graduation, they get married. And by 2006, Mitch and Kayla have bought their actual, white picket fence dream home in Louisiana. And, life was great. They loved their careers. Both of them were very intentional about spending time together on the weekends and really making, their time together as a couple very important. And then by 2007, so they've lived in this new home for a year now. They welcome their first child, their daughter. And then 2 years after that, which puts us in 2009, they have their son. And then they're done at that point. They got their girl, they got their boy. And it's like life couldn't be better. Mitch loves his job. His wife loves her job. They have this thing where
once I get a boy and a girl, I'm good, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't need 5, 6, 7 kids. Like, one of each. I'm cool.
Every morning, the dad would sneak into the kids' bedroom and he'd like spook them to wake them up. It was a playful thing. And they always had, family game nights on the weekend. And the Mitch and Kayla made a point to still have those romantic dates, anytime they could. They always got babysitters to spend time together. So this is like it's the American dream in many ways. You have this young family living
high school sweetheart, white picket fence.
That's the idea.
2.5 kids, dog.
He said 2.5 kids.
So it's 2009, and Mitch is at this little dream home, and he's watching football. He's sitting on the couch watching football, and it's just like any other day. And as he's watching the game, there's this lamp that's in the back right corner of the room. This nondescript, target lamp. It's a red lamp, and Mitch he's seen this lamp a million times. It's in his house, and he's watching football. But at some point, he notices something odd about this lamp, and he looks over at it, and for some reason, the lamp itself, not the light bulb, but the actual physical lamp, like the base, was blurry. And the rest of the room is in focus. There's plenty of light in the room, but the lamp is blurry. And so Mitch, he's looking at the lamp, he's rubbing his eyes to see if there's something in his eyes, but still the lamp is blurry. He goes back to the TV, not blurry. Mitch has good eyesight. This doesn't make any sense. And so Mitch finally, he's worried about this. Is there something wrong with me? And he stands up and he walks over to the lamp. And as soon as he gets up to it, it's still blurry. And he touches it, still blurry. And he's like, okay, I don't know what this is about. But he does the typical, kind of dude reaction, like, whatever.
The male denial of medical problems.
Yeah, it's like, I'm probably having a stroke, but whatever. So he turns around and he goes back to the couch and just does his best to ignore the still blurry lamp. And so he's watching the game, he's glancing periodically, but he's mostly focused on the game. And then at some point, towards the end of the football game, the lamp changes. It remains blurry, but out of the corner of his eye, he sees it moving around and he looks, and the lamp, with having not been no one's touched the lamp at this point, but the lamp is now turned upside down, which is, It's not possible. It's flipped upside down and now it's blurry. And so now Mitch he's looking at this lamp thinking, okay, huge problems here. There's something wrong. I might very well be having some sort of medical emergency. But for some reason that Mitch just could not place, he couldn't bring himself to call the doctor. I mean, this is a situation where you call the doctor. There's something wrong. And he knew it, but he didn't do it. Instead, he just could not stop looking at this lamp. He's not watching the TV. He's just staring at this upside down blurry lamp. And at some point that day or that evening, his wife Kayla and his 2 kids, they come home. And the second she comes in, Mitch kind of breaks out of his fixation, and he thinks, I should tell Kayla about this lamp. I'm having a medical emergency. I should tell her. But again, he doesn't. And in fact, he quickly thinks to himself, I can't tell her. I'm going to pretend this didn't happen. And he kind of forgets about the lamp, and he goes and he sees his wife and his kids, and it's a normal night. She is none the wiser that he's...
It's funny to me how in like horror stories, horror movies, you either got one or two options, right? Or scenarios. It's like the one he's narrating right now. A man is experiencing certain paranormal activity or some odd going on in the home. He's not going to tell his family though, right? Because I think a part of it is just like as a man being a protector and a provider, you don't want to put your wife and your kids through that. You want to kind of own that and see what you can do before just putting them in a compromising situation or a fearful situation, right? And then you got the other situation on hand where you see in movies at times to where it's like the wife will be encountering something very odd happening, some paranormal type of experience. But then she does tell her husband, right? And he's just like, you crazy. Like the whole time he'll be like, well, you just didn't get enough rest. Or he don't ever experience things going on in the home. It's always the wife. And then towards the end of the story or the end of the film, he finally sees something. And then he's like, oh, I see what you was talking about the whole time.
Spent the day staring at a lamp that's blurry and upside down. And, when Kayla came in, the lamp was not blurry and upside down. She's not experiencing this. So that night, regular night, they put the kids to bed, and, Kayla and Mitch, they go to bed too. But then after Kayla had fallen asleep, Mitch is wide awake. You can't sleep. And there's something telling him to go down and look at that lamp. And so Mitch gets up and he sneaks downstairs and he goes to the couch, and, the light is not even on at this point, but even in the darkness, he can tell it's still blurry. It's still upside down. And he sits on the couch and he just stares at the lamp. And all night, Mitch sits on this couch and stares at this lamp in absolute silence. And then in the morning, Kayla gets up, she comes down. It's during the week, so it's a work day. She comes down and she finds Mitch on the couch, and she's like, what are you doing? And he kind of breaks out of it, and he's like, oh, I wasn't feeling well last night. He's lying to her. I wasn't feeling well, so I came down here. And in fact, he tells her, you know what? I feel so sick. I can't go to work today. And Kayla's like, you've never taken a day off from work ever, and you don't seem sick to me.
Go make that
happening? And he's like, no, I just not feeling up for it. And so Kayla's like, okay, but she's thinking there's a red flag here, but she doesn't know what it is. And so ultimately, Kayla and the kids, they leave for the day, and Mitch stays home, and he just stares at this lamp all day. He is staring at this lamp, and by the evening, when Kayla comes home, this is like 8-10 hours later, when she walks in the house, all the lights are still off, except for the red lamp. And she sees her husband, who now is not breaking out of his trance. He's sitting on the couch, and he is absolutely focused on this lamp. And when she walks in, she's like, what's going on with you? No reaction. Mitch is fully locked in on this lamp. He's completely unresponsive. And so Kayla is like putting it together that, oh my God, something's obviously wrong. And so she grabs the phone and she calls the doctor to be like, what do I do about this? And she's at the same time kind of yelling for Mitch on the couch. There's no reaction. She's shooing her kids away. Go upstairs. We'll deal with this.
Slap that fool out of it.
And so as this is happening, Mitch, who can kind of tell, his wife is on the phone with the doctor.
Uh-oh. She's going to call the feds on him, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just playing. What would y'all do in this situation, man? All you can do is call the doc. Doc, what's going on?
Eventually, he can't even hear her anymore. She disappears completely. And he's left with just this lamp. And the lamp begins to change for a second time. Now, in addition to being upside down and blurry, the lamp begins to grow inside the room. And so as it's growing, it's taking up more and more of his field of vision until this lamp is so big, he now is basically consumed by the lamp. And it's at this point that he begins to feel this blinding pain in his head, and he doesn't know where it's coming from. And then he hears a ringing in his ears, and then all he hears is just people screaming everywhere. And it's total darkness. The lamp is gone. And then he opens his eyes and he looks around, and he's surrounded by a sea of people that are all looking at him, and he's on the ground. It's broad daylight. He's not at his house anymore. And he's looking around at this crowd of what looks like college kids. And he's looking for his wife and his kids. He can't see them. And he stands up, and he doesn't know what's going on. And as he's yelling for his wife and kids, Kayla, he's yelling for his wife and kids, a police officer comes charging through the circle, and he grabs Mitch. And without saying anything, he lifts him up, a grown man, and just runs with him to his police car. And the whole time, Mitch is like, I don't know what's going on here. His head's still like, he's still got pain in his head. He has no idea where he is physically. He has no idea where he is. And he gets thrown in the back of this police car. Obviously, there's some emergency happening right now. And the cop, without saying anything, he hops in the driver's seat, and they start speeding down the road. And as they're driving, Mitch just starts saying, "Where's my wife and kids? What's going on?" And the police officer was like, "Sir, you just hit your head. I'm bringing you to the hospital." And so ultimately, the police officer brings Mitch to the hospital, and they end up, he gets treated by the doctors and nurses. But he discovers what's actually happened.
He imagined the whole thing.
Mitch was a senior in college, and he got tackled by a football player, and he hit his head on the ground, and he was unconscious for a fraction of a second, like 10 seconds or something. And in those 10 seconds, his brain constructed an entire life with a wife, with kids, with the white picket fence, the house. None of it existed. He never had a wife. He never had his kids. They're not real. And so he realized what had happened when he was at the hospital, and he had to grieve the loss of people who never existed, and it wrecked his life. He did this huge Reddit post, this Ask Me Anything, where he tried to tell people what it's like to have basically lost your entire family who don't exist. And he said, to this day, he still has dreams where his little son will come running around the corner, and he's perpetually 5 years old. And that was his life. And so it wrecked his life, and it never existed. It was just a figment of his imagination.
Dude.
Pretty crazy, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to this guy, given that you've given this story so much attention?
Yeah.
And what's he like?
No, he doesn't want to talk about it. He did his AMA, and that's it. The dude wants to disappear. He goes to therapy for this. I mean, he basically gave permission, but doesn't want to be a part of it. I mean, he's trying to cope.
And he'll be about our age now or something, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for him, I mean, how do you go about dealing with something like that? Because to other people, it's like, well, it never really happened, come
I think Ballen had another story about a dude who took some, I don't know if it was Ballen. It may have been another video I seen where a guy who took, I was going to say ayahuasca. I don't know if it was that drug. I want to say it was like DMT. DMT is the drug that, like, supposedly, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, it circulates in our brain when we sleep. It's kind of what is the fuel to dreams, right? To this fantasy reality and stuff like that. But there's a drug, right, that he had taken, and he lived. I forgot this story, man. Is during his trip, he lived a whole alternate reality. Talking about he was in a whole different world, and it seemed like he lived for 20 plus years. I think, like they said, like X amount of years. And then when he started coming back, like, it literally scared the living daylights out of this dude, because he was coming back or coming down from this high, and he was re-entering his actual reality, but he was just being gripped away from the reality he thought he lived in. He had a wife, he had a family, in the same context of this kind of story, to where, like, he lived so long in this high, which was about maybe 3 to 5 minutes in actuality, but in his mind, he was living for 20 years. Imagine that. As you come down from this high, you're coming back to reality. And they said he was like screaming, and like, it was a very, like, the experience tormented him, so to speak. So immediately, man, as soon as he said that there's a group of people around him and the cop picked him up, I knew he imagined in this story that he had imagined it, the whole thing.
Come on. But for him, it was like years that in his brain was implanted an entire history, an entire family. I mean, that's a real loss. We'll get back to talking
That's
to Bullet.
crazy. That was through a concussion. The other one I was talking about was through some type of drug. Oh, it was salvia. That's what it was. A salvia hit. Oh, yeah. Now I remember. It's the crazy salvia hit, right? Look up the crazy salvia story or crazy salvia story alternate reality salvia story. Look, search along the lines of those keywords and you'll find the story. But he had taken a hit of salvia. This is what happened. It was his first time doing salvia. He hit it once. And the thing is with salvia, you could hit it and then like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I've experienced it when I was like a kid. You know what I'm saying? That sounds bad. But yeah, in the experiments of early stages. I'm not ashamed to say it, I was a wild kid growing up. But it's like, it'll make you don't immediately know what's going on. You hit it, you kind of like, then it sink in, you like, whoa. So basically what happened, dude hit it. And supposedly he was using some type of pipe or he did it out of a bong. He hit the bong once. And then when he hit it, like he inhaled, right? And pretty much exhaled, so to speak. But his friends was like peer pressuring. Oh, you didn't even get a hit, bro. But he said when he exhaled that first time, he started to feel it. Immediately he started to feel it. But all his friends was egging him on. Bro, you didn't even get a hit. Hit it again. Hit it harder. So he went back a second time. And he filled that thing up like cheesecake mode, bro. Like he filled it up completely with smoke. Hit it again. And then he says when he hit it the second time, his whole reality changed. He got warped into an alternate universe, which was a universe that he had this whole family. He had a career. He had a life. He had a wife. Like, wild stories, man. The brain is crazy when you really think about it. The brain, the mind, the depths of the mind, the possibilities, man. We don't even barely know, to be honest with you, man. And I don't want to experience nothing like that, to be honest with you. I wouldn't come back the same. I already know I'd be lost. Like, to MrBallen's point, this dude he's still going through a traumatizing experience to this day where he's still taking therapy. That's crazy to me, man. Comment down below. You would think once you realize it's not real, that kind of that sentiment that's tied with it would leave. But nah, dude's still traumatized. Well, that's wild to me, man. Comment down below. Let me know y'all's thoughts on this one. Peace, love, prosperity. Everybody rocking with the channel, man. We'll catch you on the next video. We out.